your relationship with other agencies is something I wanted to touch on. This is a little bit in the weeds, and for me,
we literally were like, don't ask about this. We said this.
I can't help
most
myself.
people don't
I've been dying to ask you this question because
is this about the DOJ?
Yeah,
it's about the DOJ. We told them not to ask this question
because I met somebody that works for you a few months ago, and I embarrassingly referred to a case that was the DOJ's and not the FTC's when I met her, and I still think about it. But the reason I wanted to bring this up was because the DOJ seems to be the other agency that can tackle issues with mergers. So when you guys are deciding how to approach things, are you coordinating or like speaking to the DOJ about like, all right, you guys take this, we'll take this? Are there other agencies within the US that can approach these problems? What's the difference between you?
And I have a follow-up question.
And I feel like this is a really reasonable question.
Is it rock, paper, scissors?
Do you think that's a little too inside baseball for an audience of...
I don't think that's... We're an hour in. We're an hour in.
Yeah, we've got a vote.
If they're watching, they're... Okay, fine. All right, I'd love to know.
Yeah, no, a very relevant question, honestly.
Eat shit.
Don't.
Eat shit.
He's going to hold this over us.
Be nice to him.
Nina Khan loved my question, guys.
Gonna clip out really relevant question. Listen to that a few times.
Yeah,
thank you.
there.
No, but this is something I was genuinely curious about because
Yeah.
as I was going through cases from the past 10 years, I'm like, oh, a lot of these things are the DOJ. So how do you balance the approach between the two agencies?
Yeah. So you're right that the antitrust laws are enforced both by the Federal Trade Commission and by the Antitrust Division within the Justice Department. Some of how we divide and conquer is a result of law. So the FTC doesn't have jurisdiction over banks, over certain meat packers, over common carriers like the airline.
Certain meat packers?
That's such a weird...
Certain part of the
I was wrong. This is awesome. I was wrong.
Meat packers?
Some parts of the agriculture supply chain. And actually, this goes back to the FTC wrote a really hard-hitting report exposing the meat packer oligopoly in like 1919. And there was such ferocious backlash that Congress stripped our jurisdiction over that sector and gave it to DOJ.
That's crazy.
Railroads, airlines, telecom, DOJ does that. But for areas that are not kind of a result of what's written in the law, it's partly a combination of kind of experience, right? So who historically has looked at some markets, who historically has looked at others. The FTC has looked, for example, historically at grocery stores, hospitals, at pharma, whereas DOJ has looked at health insurers. And so partly it's just based on experience. There would sometimes, before this last administration, there had been a lot of turfiness. And sometimes they actually did have to resort to a coin flip.
You're not kidding.
No, the administration right before ours was kind of famously most at war, including, it resulted in things like DOJ sometimes filing amicus briefs against the FTC in the FTC's cases. So there was like a lot of dysfunction. I was very lucky that my counterpart, Jonathan Cantor, who was at the Antitrust Division, was a really fantastic partner, and so we had
that's cool.
We were very aligned. And
would you call heads or tails during the coin flips, and why?
When they meet at the the head of agency meeting that they all do before they decide the weather, they flip the coin to decide who gets the
who gets the case.
Weather.
This is what a hard hitting question that I'll uncover all this information.
Oh my God.
I didn't know there was meatpacking drama. If I knew there was meatpacking drama, I would not have.
Because there's a meatpacking oligopoly right now. Who handles that?
It's DOJ.
Okay.
So they're kind of basically four meat
packers. Are they
packers.
worse than you? Does it not get handled?
I mean, I obviously have a lot of agency pride for the FTC, but the Antitrust Division did fantastic work these last few years too. Yeah.
All right. Well, I just think Tyson Foods still owns all the meat packing, and I wonder who's at the DOJ right now.
A bit off the clock, are we? No.
I saw Amazon lawsuit. I saw Meta lawsuit. I didn't see a lot of Tyson Food lawsuit.
I would like to ask about what it was like working as the youngest FTC chair, because I think what is so cool about you being one of the most, I would argue, influential people of the Biden administration is that you started that role when you were about my age, and the people watching, you're a politician who actually is part of our generation.
I was going to say you're about 40 years too young to be in that position.
Yeah.
According to if we look at the status quo
By
right
the
now.
rules.
And so I genuinely want to hear about this because I think something that causes so much frustration with millennials and Gen Z, certainly for me, is the feeling that our politicians don't represent us. And so for you, as somebody who came in incredibly young by comparison, what is it like to work with, let's say, Congress, who the average person is 95 years older than you? How do you bridge that gap? Like, was that hard? Like, what is going on here? Why don't we have more younger people in politics?
I mean, I do hope that that's a trend that will continue. It was obviously a big honor to get to do this job the last few years. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is just like how you build a team is really important, right? I was picked for this role because I had kind of certain views on, what had gone wrong and how to fix it. And when you're kind of leading an organization like the FTC, you want to make sure you're able to spend as much of your time on a daily basis basically doing what your value add is and making sure you're building like a really great team around you to kind of get to do the things that are not kind of your value add. And so I was really lucky to have a fantastic team in place to kind of help us do all the work we did. We worked a lot with Congress. I would get kind of invited to go do hearings and testify before them. And I think what was really striking to me was that even though there were a lot of big business lobbyists that were attacking the agency, there was actually a lot of bipartisan support in Congress. And so, I would go testify and I would hear from Republican members about how worried they were about their main streets being hollowed out because of big middlemen that were squeezing independent pharmacies or independent grocers. A lot of bipartisan concern about kind of big tech's effect on kids and whether basically they're running like a mass experiment on, our nation's children who are now facing online abuse, addiction, and kind of what agencies like the FTC could do there. And so it was really neat to see how actually there was a lot of on the ground support for what we were doing.
Does it make you hopeful? I mean, we've talked about some of the depressing sides of the dystopian